It's a tale of two Jeeps, the brand new Jeep Renegade and something, well, a wee bit older. Next on Talking Cars. Hi there, it's time for Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Muchler.
I'm Jake Fisher.
And I'm George Kennedy.
Let's get right to it. On this side of the studio, resplendent in red, is our brand new Jeep Renegade. And on the other side of the studio, what is that?
That is my personal vehicle, 99 Jeep Cherokee, which has some modifications.
It looks like the Tetanus Edition.
I mean, yeah, that's its own security system. It's
well, plus the fact we had to push it in here.
Oh, wow, can we cut that? We're still doing some work on it. It's just a work in progress. I've had it since college.
That's fair.
It got my brother and I through college, and we've done a lot of projects on it. You know, done a 4-inch lift. Was it 33-inch tires? And the bumper that we built ourselves from scratch out of a piece of 1/4-inch steel.
Nice home improvement projects. Good.
Improvement is a relative term, but yeah.
Now the Renegade, I mean, that really lends itself to a 4-inch lift and 33-inch tires. And
Now I gotta level with you. I don't know if I'm really ready to do this because I haven't actually driven the vehicle. I've drove the Renegade, but I actually haven't driven your car, which
okay.
looks like a lot of fun, actually.
It is. Well, you were in it when we've actually taken it on the rock wall. So as a passenger, you might have some insights as to how it drives.
Yes, the infotainment system wasn't real good.
It's lacking. Yeah, the
active
90s
safety.
aftermarket radio that's not up to your spec.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, we have the tale of two Jeeps here. This is really. I love the juxtaposition. I think we need more old cars in the studio here like this. But yeah, this is. I don't know how many people are going to be lifting these things up.
I don't think you can actually. I know at least from the Cherokee.
Well, you could lift it. I think both of us could actually lift it up.
Yeah, like a Mentos commercial.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like the Cherokee, I remember that Jeep said that basically you can't really get in there and mod it the way that you want it to, because the Trailhawk, the only one that can actually do the Rubicon Trail kind of stuff, is spec'd just so that it can get through there. And if you went and did your own work on it, I'm sure you'd A, void a warranty, but B, I don't know what's.
Now your
what's
car
right
you
for
could
it.
actually fix with a rock, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I prefer to.
I mean, I was going to say the off-road, a lot of the off-road capability on the Trailhawk versions of the Cherokee and the Renegade is achieved through electronics, basically, which you have no.
There's a radio. He said it was
There's a
aftermarket,
radio,
right?
yeah. So lots of vacuum tubes.
Headlights.
Right.
It's a series of tubes.
You're not turning any cute little knobs in yours to sand or snow or mall.
Nope, it's a lever on the floor.
Manly lever on the floor.
Yep.
But this doesn't make the Renegade bad or ill-suited for its intended use.
Well, that's the
does
question.
it?
What is the intended use? So as a Jeep owner, I'll throw it to you, George. What do you think about the Renegade?
I'll be gentle. And
You have to be gentle with it. It's kind of cute. Don't hurt his feelings. It's looking right at you.
Well, yeah, it is.
Look at with those big puppy dog eyes.
No, you see its furrowed brow. It's judging me.
I think it's intimidated by yours, actually. It's about to run off.
Yeah, I would check underneath for an oil spill or something.
We know there's one under yours.
Thank you. No, it's a vehicle that meets its purpose. I mean, it's a crossover that has been built up and gussied up to look like something that is more macho and brawny, like putting a plaid shirt on me. You know what I mean? Like,
There's nothing macho about that.
well, no, but it's meant to give off that aesthetic. Walking around it, you don't really pay attention to how low to the ground it is and how small the wheels are and the lack of ground clearance, because you're looking at the big squared off angles and the fact that it's got a really cool looking front grille that really does sort of conjure up Jeep iconography.
So, okay, remember we used to talk about, the term used to be cute ute, when all these little crossovers came out, and then all the crossovers kind of grew up, and now
They
small
bulked up,
SUVs, they're family cars now, right? I mean, a Forester and a CR-V are family cars, they're not cute utes. This is a cute ute. This thing is ridiculous cute. I'm driving around this weekend, and like everyone is like coming up to, wow,
Jeep wants you to think it's like the Butte ute, though. Like it's this like rugged, like Western thing at the same time, but it's.
Look, there's a lot of women who drive Jeep Wranglers. There's a lot of people who drive Jeep Wranglers that are not taking them off-road. They're driving around because they're cute. You could take the top off. Can't quite do that on that. But I mean,
Sawzall, you could. Actually, they have a cool
roof
removable roof package.
But for people who want to be in a Jeep because they like the way it looks, they're not going to be using it for that utility. This has got all that cuteness and is a daily driver too. So I mean, I think there is totally a market for this, and honestly, I think they hit this one out of the park.
But the thing is, you know me. I mean, Robot Tom is robot. I am not in this market. But still, compared to a Chevy Trax, or we've been driving a new Honda HR-V recently, and it's just so boring. It makes me sad. I feel depressed driving the HR-V. It's like so clinical. It's so sanitary. This has character.
I'm gonna cry.
So that brings up a sort of
This is kind of cool to be driving.
That kind of brings up the conflict that the internal strife that I have over non-Wrangler and non-Grand Cherokee Jeeps that Jeep has been doing for like the last 15 years with vehicles like the Patriot and the Compass. I feel like they've done a better job with this, definitely. But on the one hand, it's like, okay, great. They've taken all of the cachet that comes and the respect that comes from the Wrangler and the Grand Cherokee, and they ring that and they bleed that into other vehicles that don't have that off-road prowess, and they get people to buy. It's the halo car effect.
Totally.
On the other hand, if you juxtapose that to the other vehicles that are in this market, and all of a sudden, by doing that, you actually have a car that's in this market that actually has some character.
Totally. It has character, and since you're not being the clinical Tom, I'm going to have to take over your position here.
Oh, I look forward to seeing this very
And here's
much.
the thing. I'm going to say it now. This isn't a very good car. Okay? If you want to go and compare, I mean, we paid what, 27 grand for this?
$27,000.
And you could pay 27 grand for a Forester. And the Forester is roomier and probably is more fuel efficient, and it's going to be ride nicer, and it's going to have better steering, and it's going to all the good things. And it's probably going to be more reliable. I'll throw that down with no data. I mean, just based on what we know from what Chrysler's doing these days and some of the components.
Yeah.
So as in terms of better vehicle, there's going to be a lot better vehicles. But if you're looking for something cute, and if you're looking for something that's going to go and bring a smile to your face, and people are going to be waving and they're going to give you a thumbs up, I don't know. I don't know if the Wrangler guys are going to give you a thumbs up or
No, you're not going to get
point and laugh.
No, you're not going to
They'll point and laugh. But no, to hang on that point a little bit more, the same about $27,500 that we paid for that car, which, I mean, the fanciest thing that has is a heated steering wheel. $27,500 bought our latest Honda CR-V with a sunroof, with lane watch, with heated, with all this stuff that.
One got better. What about our the Kia Soul, which had like everything?
And this is
Well,
incredibly
that had
similar.
rear heated seats.
It's not
and stuff
all-wheel
like that.
drive, but
It's not all-wheel
but
drive,
it was
but
also,
again,
it was $5,000 less.
Right.
Or
I mean, it's got
$5,000
so many
less.
features if you want a vehicle that's boxy or whatever like that.
But you see, here's the thing. Here's why I think these cars are ingenious for the car companies, and I'm not convinced where they are for consumers. I think they're ingenious for car companies because you're taking what is going to be a pretty inexpensive platform, and you are getting so much money out of it. I mean, look at the HR-V. You have something that's based on the Fit, which is basically, a $17,000 car. And I like the Fit. I said in an earlier podcast, I think it's a very earnest car. It is what it is. And there's limitations, but it is what it is. Once you start turning it into an SUV and jacking it up and adding all-wheel drive and adding a few nice-looking things inside, the price goes up and it becomes so profitable for the car company.
And I'll say, I mean, there's plenty of examples from the Buick Encore to the Mercedes-Benz CLA, but this one I like a lot better. Well, there's GLA, but CLA.
Oh, CLA as well.
Okay, so you take the CLA, which
because
is a
the
B
CLA,
class.
because it's based on a boxy little, very practical car.
But they've turned it into something that looks like a Mercedes, and this is where they've taken an Italian car, right? This thing's been built in Italy.
Was that built in Italy?
No.
That's never been.
It doesn't know
out of the
what
state.
Italy
It doesn't.
is, okay?
It can't make it that far. So this thing, they have gone and they've done that. But you know what? This drives a whole lot more like another Jeep or something. Like a CLA drives like a Mercedes. I mean, the CLA.
There's more brand identity.
I'm so frustrated with that car just because it doesn't drive like it looks. This actually drives pretty good from what you're thinking. I mean, if you drove a Liberty or if you drove or any of these cars, this thing
not
just
a Liberty.
This is so much better.
Well, just the thing on the profits is, all right, as a Jeep owner, I can almost like make peace with a car like this, sort of based on the Porsche model of Porsche purists for a long time when the Cayenne came out were pulling their hair out over this
Panamera.
SUV.
Yeah.
And the Panamera too. But guess what? Those vehicles make a ton of profit, and those profits they reinvest in the development of the next 911. And if that can keep development costs for the next Wrangler and keep that next Wrangler a pure vehicle down, then I can totally
But
justify this
I'm
vehicle
not, I'm not
existing.
convinced by that justification, because the Wrangler, the difference is they don't sell that many Boxsters and 911s and Caymans. They sell a lot of Wranglers.
They should be able to
they should be
justify
able
their
to make a
own-
profit
yeah,
on the
yeah.
Wrangler.
Those things
That
fly off the
assembly
shelf.
line.
Yeah.
Now that to be said, the update, the new Wrangler will probably be extensively aluminum, and I mean there will be a lot more money in that car.
Well, and just to think about the justification, I mean, do you need justification to a vehicle that people want, people are going to enjoy? What
do you mean by
this thing.
justification? Business justification or purchase justification?
No, we were
Mental,
talking about,
like as
stick with the program here.
Yeah.
So it was like, it was saying you justify, because I mean, what you're saying is, as a Jeep purist, this
Yeah.
thing is a,
Oh, I
a
see.
weenie
Yeah,
box,
yeah.
right?
Me basically saying, "Get off my lawn with this thing."
Exactly. You're gonna
At least that will drive off your lawn. That's just
wow.
going to be.
Oh,
I'm already regretting bringing this thing down here.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
You're just sore from pushing it. So, but I mean, that's the thing. So I mean, I think it's really apt to have that comparison with Porsche, right? I mean, when the first Porsche SUV and the Porsche sedan came out, we were all like, oh, the sky's falling. No one's gonna like Porsches anymore. They sold their soul, and lo and behold, they're still making lots of speedsters and all these different variants of 911 and Boxster and more. So is that necessarily a bad thing? I mean, in terms of sky falling, the Compass. That was the sky falling when they took a Caliber, which was this terrible, terrible little Dodge, and put a grill on it. It was not even a grill; it was like plastic molded. That was awful. This is kind of like this is a breath of fresh air in this market.
So all those previous Jeep crossovers, they just threw a 7-slot grill on and called it a day.
Right.
At least there's an acknowledgement of heritage in this vehicle. If you look around, there are Easter eggs
Oh, good
everywhere.
grief.
Hundreds of Easter eggs.
It's all right. It's a little much. It's a little much.
Every speaker grill, every tail light, every
There's
every
one
bit
on
of,
the rear view mirror, on the rear view mirrors on the side, up
Yeah.
top. There's like at least 16 on each seat.
every place where you had like a 2x2-inch section
like-
of plastic, they stamped
I'm a Jeep.
in.
Remember, I'm a
That's
Jeep.
right.
I'm not built in it. Okay, I'm
But
built
at
in it.
least
I'm a
at
Jeep.
least there's an acknowledgement of heritage there, as opposed to those other cars. It's like, you know what? Take this Caliber, just make some money, and let's get out of here.
The headlights, the taillights have Jeep. I can't get over how many Jeeps are. The windows. There's Jeeps driving up the
Yeah.
side of the window glass.
Well, I
It's-
mean,
it's
Chrysler
awesome.
does that. Our Challenger actually has a Challenger silhouette. And I think it's kind of cool, and it doesn't cost you anything. And
It's
But
like
at what
if
point
Pin
is
My
it you're
Ride was
trying
still
too
around,
hard?
this would be like, yo, dog, we heard you like Jeep, so we're gonna put a Jeep inside your Jeep.
Exactly.
yeah.
There is one, among all these weird little aesthetic choices, there is one thing that is very strange to me. It's totally weird, Kwame, and that is the tachometer. There is no red line to the red line. There's a splotch
lava.
of paint.
Of mud.
Is it paint or
I think it's
lava?
mud. It's
or, I thought it was
mud,
lava.
I think.
My
Or
kids think it's
flames.
mud.
Yeah, it's
my
probably
kids,
mud.
My kids like it.
But it's orange mud, so it's probably lava.
I was
I was
cooler.
going to go with flames when the 9-speed and the 2.4.
So where's the red line? Is it like the first blob of mud, or is it where it's all solid mud?
It's there somewhere.
It's all
And
good.
the thing is, you will never know whether or not you're gonna hit the red line or not, because the engine is just one of those Chrysler engines that's really loud.
Oh yeah,
It's
I mean,
very whiny.
getting back to it's not a great car. That 2.4 liter is just, I mean, it's cobby in the dart. It's cobby here. There's this magic fingers idle vibration when you're stopped.
Yes.
You can actually, the transmission, the 9-speed is better than it has been in other cars, but you can actually get 9th gear. I've seen 9th
Well, the
gear
fact
in
is
this.
it's pretty light, actually.
Yeah,
The
which is what
transmission
helped it.
doesn't work too badly. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, this is prancing onto really dangerous territory about like what we recommend and what people should buy. I mean, it's true. It's not that great of a car if you close your eyes to what it is. But I suspect people are going to buy this and be
But we
satisfied with
understand
this.
why people. I think the important thing is that it's not a great car, but we haven't tested it fully yet. We have a couple hundred miles on it. We know what we think of it, but we understand why people would buy it. No matter how it scores, we understand why people would buy it.
Yeah, because people are going in and buying a vehicle that is useful, but Jeep has baked in enough of this aesthetically to make them think they're buying this
pretty.
when they're buying that.
I don't know about this one in particular.
That's right.
Fair.
No, but when my kids go down the street and every Jeep, they're like, look, there's a
Yeah,
Jeep, look,
yeah,
there's a Jeep.
exactly.
Yeah,
People
sure,
recognize that.
sure.
Of course.
It's iconic.
Jeep is a great brand. It's a great brand, and actually, it's getting into the mailbag. It's time for People who are mad at what we've done.
That's what we call this now.
Line up.
That's what we call it. It's just the easiest thing to call it. A couple shows ago, you talked about a friend who was shopping for a small SUV, and they were thinking of a Cherokee, and you said, no, the reliability is bad. Yet in the same show, we talked about the Volkswagen Golf and how I personally would buy a Golf, although the reliability is probably a question mark. A couple people have at least feigned moral outrage over this.
I'm ready.
Here's what we've got. Jacob said, but you said moments ago that you could not recommend the Jeep because of reliability, and then you say the Golf is just so good you overlook the reliability of it. Come on, guys. I don't think we care anyway, but we all want consistency. Another one, I see an extreme level of hypocrisy when it comes to the Golf. You guys even mentioned it yourselves during the show that you don't recommend the Cherokee simply because of the reliability. You guys repeatedly mentioned that the only reason you don't recommend these cars like the Escape and the Fiesta is because of reliability. And then again, to make a complete exception, you recommend the Golf despite the reliability.
So this is exactly what we're talking about this. This is a perfect segue. Look what you did there. But I mean, this is the difference between big R, capital R recommendation,
Consumer Reports
and
official recommendation.
lowercase recommendation.
Jake, Tom, George recommendation.
Exactly.
Because we are very lowercase.
So I mean, for us to recommend a vehicle to the masses out there, I mean, we're going to look at reliability. That's important. We know that's important to a lot of people. The majority of people, that's one of the primary reasons why people are buying new cars. But in terms of if you have special needs, if you're really into a certain type of vehicle, if you really value a sporty driving experience or what this buys you, yeah, you might be very happy with that purchase.
The other thing I feel bad about is that we've never really spelled out all the pieces of information behind some of the things we've said. The Golf is a brand new design. We do not know its reliability. Volkswagens, in recent years, the Golf has been average or above average. The Jetta, which the car is loosely based on, that's been average.
No, the GTI was actually below
yeah,
average.
Yeah, the GTI is
last
below average.
year.
But the lesser sporting versions have been all right. A lot of this has been in the context of the Mazda 3 versus the Golf. And yes, the Mazda 3 is going to be more reliable than the Golf. But the Golf isn't horrible. We know from data the Cherokee is horrible.
Right,
The
and
Cherokee is way,
as
way
the one who
bottom.
created this and put on blast for this, I think it requires explaining that. Fine, the comparative, the amount of reliability that's off center for the Golf is marginal compared to, and we don't know yet, but based on previous data, we can say that it's not this deep well that it has to dig a hole, dig itself out of. Whereas the Cherokee, we know is, and we know it's worth.
I would take it one step further, though. I mean, it's not about how unreliable is it. It's about what's important to you. And for some people, I would recommend you get a GTI. If reliability is number one on your list or right up the top, I wouldn't recommend you get that vehicle.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think that's what it is. We recommend different vehicles for different people. And quite honestly, for us, I mean, this is the worst question you ask. If you want to know what you should buy, don't say, what would you buy?
Yeah, that's
because
not
what
it.
I would
That
buy is
You should get
I
a
would
Hemi
just-
Durango.
Yeah.
Everyone out there should buy a
You
Hemi
would be
Durango.
happy with
Because
this.
look what I drive. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, before we started this, I was showing you guys that iMark diesel
Oh, and
from
a
1984 that was
Suzu,
slammed to the
rear-drive,
ground.
A Suzu iMark diesel, $2,500 on
Jake
Craigslist.
Fisher recommendation.
Go buy it, everyone. Speaking of the Golf, and speaking of people who should buy it, we got a chance to drive a Golf R. Who should buy a Golf R?
Somebody who basically, somebody who wants a performance car that, isn't exactly, sticks out, doesn't do the whole look at me thing.
Like the Impreza STI with
Yep.
gold wheels and a big.
Right.
Spoiler.
There are all of these high performance cars out there, or the hot hatch cars. They have all these like tack on visual parts that are just really loud and very juvenile. And if you're paying 40 grand for a car, you're at least at a position in life where you're probably beyond that, So the Golf R is very subtle looking. It actually looks more subtle than a GTI, and it blends into a crowd. But the thing hauls. And it's this car that basically won't scare away your in-laws, which could be a good or bad thing, and you won't get an instant ticket, and sort of blends into the crowd, but you can still have a ton of fun in.
Your thoughts?
We don't have enough time. No. Look, I mean, when you're getting $40,000 for a Golf, I mean, for me, either get yourself a GTI and have that money in the pocket so you could go and chip it or put different wheels on yourself or bag it if you're into that, or you go and buy yourself a 3 Series because that's really what you want.
But I think the Golf is,
Or 2 Series. Or
well, yeah,
something like that.
you had
I
mentioned
just
before
don't
M235i, and the Golf R just seems like a more useful car than that.
Oh,
What
it
if you
is,
got what if you need space for the kids and whatnot, and fine, you have your other car, it's a minivan or a crossover or whatever, but this is the car that you can take your family in and still go for a nice Sunday drive.
You can do that in a
I can do that with a 3 Series.
That's the problem. And look, I'll defend the Golf R because I've had 2 friends who've owned Golf Rs. They're all very similar demographics. Within a couple years of being 40, they're professionals, Volkswagen enthusiasts who can afford the Golf, kind of like, or can afford $40,000, or to be honest, they all leased it. They like the secret handshake. But there's a reason the Golf R only sells, 3,000-4,000 because there's not that many people of that demographic.
Right, and the interesting choice is that whereas the previous generation Golf, there was a limited run and that was it, they're going to offer the Golf R every year of this generation, maybe in limited numbers of each year, but it's an interesting choice because I think that has a play into either, as the generation moves on, they might make some minor changes, infotainment changes, stuff like that, but stuff they'll make little differentiations from year to year as people go look back at these as maybe future classics.
I have a hard time with being a future classic. I think it's a really nice car. I like the seats. It sounds great. It handles great.
Any car that's fast and loud and comes in limited numbers will be a future classic to some degree. I mean, there are people spending good money on original M3s and original GTIs and stuff like that.
I don't know. I think the threshold drops off somewhere, especially when you get to 4-door hatchbacks. I mean, unless there's people out there growing up who crave that car.
Well, I think George is totally right when it comes to Rs. I just don't see it as an R. To me, an R is that yellow 1999 Integra that was more modified, better than the modifiers, and it was only like $23,000 or $24,000. To me, that's R. That's like the club sport racer.
Yeah.
This thing is basically like a Golf trying to be a BMW.
This is Golf Platinum Limited Edition.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
But you still you just still don't get a stuff like sunroof for $40,000.
You get almost everything else.
Right,
under the
right.
sun,
It's more plush than it is hardcore.
And the thing is too, I mean, it becomes a matter of taste. I mean, for a few grand more, you're within striking distance of the Audi S3. So if you're looking for a premium car, they both make the same amount of power. It's they're both all-wheel drive. So if that's your thing, then go for the luxury badge too. And now you've got that setup.
I'd rather have I'm more comfortable in the Golf. I'd rather have its hatchback body style, but again, it's a very niche car. I mean, really, you're really narrowing the funnel down very tight. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Talking Cars. As always, we thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.